of Transitioning Humanitarians Live with Viki. Hi, Viki.
Hi, Asel. How are you? Hello, everyone. Good to be back.
Exactly. Welcome back. I apologize for my internet again. I feel like often do that because I'm traveling again. But the topic that I want to talk to you today, I mean, we discussed with Vicky last time that we were preparing for this, is to make this May the month of.
So I will step in, and I know. Okay, you wanted to talk about the month of May and talking about support. Um, and I'm wondering if Asel, if you can hear me, see me, because we can see a little bit of you. And so, in order to continue, Um, let me just clarify that this month we wanted to talk about support, different angles of support. Um, are you here with us, Asel? Because we can see you a little bit, but not much. The connection is bit blurred. But for all of you who are tuning in and listening to us, really we wanted to discuss and with you what kind of support we can talk about. What kind of support you need? Why is it important to have a support or not to have a support? And today's topic we wanted to discuss what is a support that may be not so useful or a support that is harmful. So firstly, I just wanted to, whilst waiting for Asel, who might want to be coming back or who might have the opportunity to be coming back. Um, are you here, Asel? So, talking about the support, we want to talk about what kind of support might not be so useful, and maybe I will start with the premise and with the note that um, from the research that I have done, most of the colleagues, most of the humanitarians, actually every single one of them mentioned that I wish this journey was not so lonely. In other words, every single one of them that I have talked to said that they wish they could have been supported in their journey out of their out of the humanitarian sector into the profession or into life they are trying to design for themselves. They wish they had had somebody to support them or something to support them or structure to support them. So first, as a first note, I would like to say support. What kind of a support do we want? And here I would like to say, hi Asel, are you here?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, great. So just to say that I've explained the topic, what kind of a support
Mhm.
will be support that is not useful or harmful, and I started just talking about, why support can be useful.
Mhm.
Why do we need support? So the only thing I started mentioning is that, from the research I have done, most of the colleagues, most of the humanitarians that I interviewed said they wish their journey was not so lonely. They wish that they would have been supported, that they could have had some sort of a support whilst transitioning out of the aid sector. And here, what I would like to say is that before we talk about support that might not be so useful, I think it's important to realize what kind of support you need, because we all are different people, and you need to decide what kind of support you need. Do you need emotional support, only somebody maybe just to sit with you, not to be judgmental? Do you need support really in thinking, brainstorming? Very often people, what they need is just bounce off ideas, think with me, open up the world with me, so more intellectual. Or do you need or other support, right? Do you need the support in networking? Do you need the support to to open up areas that are not accessible to you, maybe new groups of friends, new circle? And so different kinds of support. So my introduction to the subject would be determine what kind of support you need.
Mhm.
What do you?
Yeah. I was also thinking that basically the way that I have used support, I think, is more in the ways of growing more, in the ways of challenging my thinking more and challenging my biases more. I think this was like the
Mhm.
biggest support that I needed. And I feel like in transitioning, especially, that's probably most of what we need because I feel like we have a lot of the time already established support systems from the career before, from the work colleagues before, right? So I I'm assuming that many of us already have used them and continue using them. And I will also mention when the support may not be useful, but the biggest support that I have always used is like what it would be like to not be an employee, for instance, and how that life looks like, or what's the differences between them and the life that I have that I'm used to. And in those areas, I really needed people who can challenge my thinking of how I can't do this or how I can't do that or how I will be miserably failing, and in having those type of support to challenge my thinking, I think that was super useful. And the other one, I think that Vicky, you mentioned about emotional support, and I feel like that has been another aspect that I have really used in terms of not having people who just agree with me with my pity party because my brain often wants to instead always like helping me emotionally see my other strengths as well, and in ways that are very specific, in ways that are how I can handle those emotional turmoils, how I can handle those mind dramas, and how I'm the person who can still make things work, even if I have all of those things going on, right? So that's why, for me, I feel like support from those perspective was super helpful to have someone else who is like more neutral or more believing in my ability. Um,
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh-oh. Yeah,
yeah.
believing in my abilities and believing in what I'm trying to achieve
Mhm.
and helping me to get there instead of, oh, yes, you're right. All
Mhm.
of these things are so hard,
Yeah.
or basically confirming my biases, right?
Mhm.
Or being like, and it's always good intentions, obviously, but I really didn't want someone who would just say, oh yes, going to and building something else is so hard, I
Mhm.
wouldn't really do that, and I
Yeah.
didn't want that type of support, so to say.
Mhm.
So that's why I thought that this topic today could be about what are the times when support could actually be not useful for you, and
Mhm.
watch out for that, and how to know for yourself when that
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah.
that could be the topic. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Asel, you are exactly mentioning one of the first things when this support is not useful, when somebody we are discussing, and this is why I think it's also important to also get different kind of a support or additional
Yeah.
support excuse me, on the top of what we usually have, because if we are sticking with with the same people or same group of people that we have until today, it's very likely that we will have the same mindset, that people
Yeah.
will not challenge us, that, as you say, they will confirm our biases because they come from maybe similar mindset and they have the same fears or similar fears. So very, very correctly, I think this is one of the most important. So as you say, whether it's a coach or somebody else you're working with, to open your mindset to possibilities and believe in these possibilities is one of the very important things. And for me, it was also for me, I'm a very practical person, and so for
Yeah.
me, what I loved doing, and I see and I saw it with other colleagues, really connecting with new groups of people, like literally, either I was asking my friends, or even my
Mm.
coach gave me new people, new contacts that we have practically nothing in common, like I wouldn't find them in my LinkedIn contacts or nobody in common, but really going out and talking to them about the subjects, of course, that it was of interest for me. And this was a great opportunity to just open up to a whole new subject or whole new way of thinking, which
Yeah.
was not known to me before.
Yeah.
And I'm really stressing it because I think we both will agree that humanitarians have tend to think in a very, very similar way. And it doesn't matter which agency, we all have the same way of thinking. And this is why, if you're not venturing out of this circle of humanitarians and development workers, that we are all really hardwired to think in a certain way, or programmed, or all of it, it's difficult then to, it will be, you will be, I don't want to say you'll be less likely, but it's easier if you are connected with someone who will open up this world to you and who will introduce you. So this was my way of thinking. It's maybe easier way. Of course, I had a coach and I was working with the coach, but also really practically being able to see, oh, it's really possible. Because very often, as you say, very people, just until they don't see, and that's the human nature, until they don't see concrete person, oh, so you've managed to do this, they don't believe that it is possible.
Yeah,
um
exactly.
yeah.
And I think I was also thinking in those terms is that even if we see someone, I think our human nature is to say, well, it's only one person, right? Or it's this person who is special, or this person who could do it, but I wouldn't. So there's always this chance of dismissing things, right? So that's why I think having the regular contact with those people that are different than us,
Mhm.
that are able to impartially look at our situation and help us figure things out, I think is so useful. Now, several things that I want to mention about things that supports that are not useful and you can watch out for yourself. And of course, useful, or sorry, not useful from the perspective of not creating tangible results or outcomes that you
Mhm.
want, right? Instead, just keep confirming what's
Yeah.
already there or keep confirming fears, like Vicky was saying before. So, one of the main thing that I think want to watch out for is to have someone who keep confirming our pity or our self
Yeah.
pity.
Yeah.
And that was for me like the biggest thing. And I was so prone to pity myself already, and if I have someone else who keep confirming that for me, then it just keeps exacerbating and exacerbating to a point that I feel worse than
Yeah.
I was seeking for help before,
Hmm.
initially, right? So that's why I feel like that's one of the most like, I don't know, counterproductive thing we can do, and I wouldn't recommend doing it.
Hmm.
Especially if we have our own propensity for self
Hmm.
pity,
Yeah.
then having that conversation with someone else will just make things worse. And if you really want to do that, let's say that you have someone you really want to like get things out of you, it's fine, but I suggest you do it once and then close the topic.
Yeah.
Don't keep like confirming it, or don't keep vacillating in it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to mention in this regard is fear related topics,
Hmm.
or if we have some kind of like fear already, and if we just seek people who are also in similar situation, like
Yeah.
Vicky was saying, in terms of projecting it, right? Or even if it's not projecting it, maybe they may say things like, oh, I don't know, I wouldn't do it, or I don't know, are you really sure you want to
Mhm.
do it?
Yeah.
And if we're already having self doubt, or if we're having already our own issues, then having someone else question it is like giving additional ammunition to the brain. That's
Mhm.
not useful
Mhm.
again. And the third one that I had, something that, let me see in my X. The third one that I had is the accountability. And
Mhm.
now this is, I think, something very specific, but I feel like a lot of people have this idea of I have like commitment issue, or I can't follow through, so therefore I really need someone to be accountable for, someone checking up on me, or someone asking me, like let's say we create plans and then someone comes and keep checking up on us whether we're doing the thing or not. On the one hand, I think that's an amazing exercise, and many people maybe in the beginning stage of starting
Mhm.
something we may need it, but that also I feel reinforces this idea that we cannot really do things
Yeah.
on our own, right? We cannot really follow through. Therefore, we really need someone else to check up on us.
Yeah.
And I feel like that type of
Mhm.
support is also not really useful, because if we if our goal is to have more commitment, or our goal to have more follow through, and that's a skill we're trying to develop, then having another person will just tell our brain is that we can't do on our
Yeah.
own, so therefore we always will be needing someone else who can check up
Yeah.
on us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
useful. What would you say,
Absolutely.
Viki?
You know, it makes me think of what I actually wanted to say, that sometimes I have seen or come across people who have such deep fear in even exploring what is it that they would like
Yeah,
to do. And here I've seen several examples of people not really wanting to, willing or fearing to do self exploration, and waiting for somebody to give them the plan, to give them the answer.
yeah,
So really, as you say, I think it's very linked to what you're saying in terms of self-belief in what I can do, or whatever my mind is capable of, and trusting whatever I decide will be the right one. So here, I would say one of the support that is really really not helpful is if somebody is advising somebody what to do. I think, for example, I think you should go for, I
yeah,
see you and I think you would be fit for this job, or you should go for this one. Because this is, um, I think it's very dangerous, because the other person can never know the we can never know the other person so well. We cannot, the other person can never decide for someone, to, because we are the only ones who know what's best for us or where we can go. And so this kind of support, I think it's actually could be very counterproductive and dangerous to say, I think you should go for that, because the person is fearful to either decide, take a step and say, well, I don't know if this is good for me or not. So I would say, here it's really important to do this self discovery, to do a deeper work, so that one is better prepared and has a better vision and trust in oneself to say, okay, I think this is the direction I want to explore. It doesn't mean that I will do it, but let me try to explore. So that's what
yeah,
I would say, yeah, on the top of what you mentioned as well.
yeah, absolutely. And I think what I would like to mention in terms of, if you find certain help that you continue seeking that is not useful for you, that you feel worse afterwards, or you feel
Mhm.
like you're just confirmed in your own fears of what you cannot do, right? So if you find yourself in that and you decide that you don't want to be doing that, then one of the ways that I think Vicky already mentioned that could be a great place is exploring other circles and exploring conversations with other people who are not really in your area, to see how their perspectives are, right? And I think that will always like shake us up a little in terms of how our way of thinking might be
Yeah.
like one-sided. And if we see other perspectives, we're like, oh, so there are other totally different possibilities exist in the world. So that could be one way. Another way that you could really get out of those converse like support systems that are not useful, you can always decide for yourself what kind of support is really good for you in this moment. Saying in terms of how some help you see your highest like version of your highest aspiration of you, or highest goal of you, right? So whatever the thing that you're trying to pursue, how someone can be there to support you in that journey. And if you feel like the current people that you are hanging out with are not there for that, or cannot,
Yeah.
or you feel like they may be not really the persons
Mhm.
for that type of journey, you can still, of course, continue that relationship, but maybe you will reduce to certain other types of relationship with them, or you just decide for yourself that, well, I don't really want to keep having the conversation around my fears with them, knowing what their answer will be, right? Or knowing what their reaction will be, and do I really want
Yeah.
that? And I think like having this clear idea of, I remember one of my friends used to tell me I have like 5 friends, and for every friend, I have an emotion to go. Want to
Okay.
be cuddled, then I go to one
Okay.
person. If I want to like cuddled emotionally, right? Like saying,
Mhm.
"Oh, how great you are," and all the things. And then if I
Mhm.
want to go to like shaking up and saying that, "Wake up, what are
Mhm.
you doing?" Then I know who to go to for that.
Okay.
And I feel like that's an amazing idea in a sense of
Mhm.
we always know like who our people are for which type of emotional
Yeah.
support in that moment. So therefore maybe we go to another friend to just
Mhm.
like be there to listen, and we just get all the things
Mhm.
out at once, right? Venting things out, but then we're like, okay, I don't need any like confirmation or pity from your side. I know that's what I'm doing currently, but I will be over and I just need someone to be there for me so I
Yeah.
can do it easier, better. So
Mhm.
I feel like there are lots of different ways that you can explore to see whether the support you're seeking currently is really useful for you to where you're going. If it's not useful, then how do you want to handle those conversations from now on without making it um, just continuing the just continuing the or increasing the or exacerbating the
Yeah.
fear or exacerbating doubt or exacerbating
Mhm.
pity. And the other thing that I thought that could be very useful for you to think about is creating space for people to help you as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yes.
or support you, right? Whichever way you think about it. And I think that's one of the things we really need to maybe learn. Maybe some of us need to learn, especially those of us who feel like, oh, we're so strong and everything that we don't need other people to support
Mhm.
us because we have always supported
Mhm.
everyone else or other people around us.
Yes.
For those of us, I feel like we need to learn to create this space where we can be vulnerable, we can be honest, we
Mhm.
can be saying all the things of what's going on at the same time, being ready to accept support and being ready to listen to that support as
Yeah,
well.
you're pointing out very important notion about, in particular, so true for humanitarians that we are portrayed or we are trying to think of ourselves as super resilient and and superheroes,
Yeah,
etc. That saying to ourselves we don't need help, as you say, we are the ones who give help, and I think this is a very dangerous situation where we say to ourselves, "But I don't need help." Because or I don't need support, because there is no such situation. None of us are independent of each other. We live
yeah,
in interdependent relationships, and I think it's really important to know, okay, like this is to know our boundaries and say, okay, I can do it until here, but for this or this or that I need a support, and this is where I'm going to look for it. I think these are very important. I think it's sort of also a very mature position, and very self-aware position to know that, okay, for these things I need the support, because it's so much, because we can try to do that, but the struggle will be immense, and I think we can shorten the time of the transition, or we can make our lives so much more richer, in all meaning of the word, if we really work with the support and to accept and know how to receive the support, if it's meaningful for us. And I think these are the very important things. I really want to say that, don't try to do it by yourself, not because you're not capable. We can probably all do it, but because also research says that you are 3 times more likely to succeed if you have a support, if you're not doing it by yourself. So it's really important, and just more beneficial to get the support for those areas that you need.
yeah. And also, I think the other thing that I was thinking, how people maybe thinking in their head of, well, if I ask for support, that means I'm weak, or that
Yeah.
means I am this and this and this, right? Whatever the version of you who was thinking that I shouldn't because I should know better, or I shouldn't because I should be experienced by now, or I shouldn't because
Yeah.
I don't know what the other expectation or things that we tell ourselves. And I think that is in itself also not really useful because I feel like in every area of growth, we all go through the stage of needing support from someone, and I feel like that's a very natural way of
Mhm.
growing as a human being, as a professional. We have all been trained in some areas, or maybe we have been mentored in other areas, or maybe we have just learned by watching other people do things, or right. So that's why I feel like there is never I don't know. There's never a reason not to seek a support, no matter what stage
Yeah.
we are in our lives, or what level of career we have achieved, or what level of, I don't know, experience we have achieved. There is never the reason, a valid reason for not going for support. So that's why I would really like encourage people to think about, what if we could get support from everyone that we
Mhm.
can think of in
Yeah.
so many different ways, to enriching our experience of, okay, I want to use this one, I don't want to use this one, but I'm happy to hear this one. I will see this, how this goes, right? I will try this out because this is another perspective. And that could be so many different people, and I'm so happy that we live in that society now where it feels like there is really no limit as to
Mhm.
how we can reach
Yeah.
people, right? How we can communicate and connect with people, and also feeling like human. I guess is like
Mhm.
being a human, to say that these
Yeah.
are the things that I'm struggling with. uh, I'm not ashamed of it, or I'm not like shooting myself for knowing everything. I don't, and that's okay.
Mhm.
So I want to know how others are doing, how others are dealing with it, and
Mhm.
how their experience is different. And maybe they have found things that I don't know, so I want to know about it. So
Mhm.
that's why I feel like we have a lot more possibilities to get support to achieve whatever we want to, or wherever we're going to. And I love this idea of having different ways to do that, different ways to harvest it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So anything we didn't mention? I'm looking at my notes, Vicky.
One thing that sometimes comes up that I hear is the feeling of guilt or shame when asking for support. I think it's linked to what we've been discussing, but sometimes I see people not asking for support because they feel guilt or shame um, asking for support, or actually admitting to themselves or to the others that, oh well, I need support because I'm thinking about transitioning out, and I'm thinking about
Mm.
going to, some maybe humanitarian, maybe some other line of work or other lifestyle. And here, and I think we don't have time, I think it's for another subject, but I think it fits here to mention that really the feeling of guilt and feeling of shame to be actually even thinking about the subject. And here
Mm.
I think it's important to search for support, whatever you need, so that you don't stay in this kind of a cocoon, not because you sort of completely block yourself, like I shouldn't be doing it, I shouldn't be doing it, and so I will not even ask because I don't want anyone to know. And that's a very unhelpful place to be.
Yeah, and I heard another variation of it, which was that I'm so privileged already, so I should be happy that I'm here, and there's so many people who are struggling finding job, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking about leaving it, and I must be not grateful, right? I think these like
Yeah.
types of sneaky ways of thinking that will also get in the way of actually looking at our own truth
Yeah.
of what is it that we're really like deep down, what is it that we're really wanting to do, or how we're wanting to live, or how we're wanting to create our impact. And if that's not the place where we can do that, then how else or where else we can do it? And I always think of it like I rather feel shame and guilt and still have a look at all the things
Yeah.
of like opening up and
Hmm.
looking at what my truth is. And I'm willing to be feeling guilty, but at the same time pursuing what I want to pursue, instead of just staying in that guilt or staying in that shame and not do anything about it.
Hmm.
Because I think we're all knowing by in the end of the day, what matters is, yeah, what's that truth is telling us, right? Because it's difficult to suppress that truth.
Yeah.
And we know that I feel like by the time we are at certain age as well, that we start realizing like,
Yeah.
damn, we're in this stage where I don't really want to care so much about how others will judge me or how others
Mhm.
will be saying things, because what matters is how I really want to live this life and create my impact or
Mhm.
create whatever I want to. And I don't think there should be any shame about it. And by shaming it, I feel like we're just making things worse, or we're just going to keep ourselves in the stuck position or keep ourselves in this mind trap position, and then we just don't move.
Yeah.
And therefore, even if you are feeling all of that, allow yourself to feel it, but then look at the underneath of it, of what is it that's there that's moving you to which direction. And you may also decide not to pursue it, but at least allow that truth to come out and see what's really there,
Yeah.
and then decide whether you want to pursue, whether you want to not pursue it, right? What are the reasons for pursuing it? What are the reasons for not pursuing it? And in those cases, I think it would be also great to talk to people you really trust to say that all of this truth is what you're having, and now you are wanting to decide. But at the same time, you just want someone to be there for,
Mhm.
yeah, having a look at things from a very as neutral perspective. And the question that I love asking myself in those times is always, if I could do both, which one would I choose?
Yeah.
Right? If I could go for that one or stay where I am, which one would I choose?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's my true answer? And I think I would go by that.
Yeah.
So I think we have covered a lot of areas as to the support and when it's useful and when it's not useful. And I think in the next 2 3 weeks, we'll be covering some of the specific support system in deeper conversation in order to help you see how you can really utilize it. Anything else we can say?
No, the only thing I would say, thank you, and don't hesitate to reach out for support. You can message us, but whoever you need to, don't let your mental blockages stay in stand in your way to ask for the support that you need.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think we are the people who have always asked for support, received a lot of support.
Yeah.
I'm personally so grateful for so many people for
Yeah.
being able to live the life that I'm living now. So that's why I'm so like inherently grateful that this type of support exists and people are willing to do that at every stage of our life, I feel. And it's just a matter of asking, the matter of listening, the matter of then deciding how you want to use that support,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so thank you so much, Vicky, and everyone who's
Thank you.
watching us. And apologies for my internet again, but I'm hoping that next time I will be with more stable internet. So until then, have an amazing week and see you next week.
See you next week. Bye bye.